Whether we are there or not, ITSP Magazine still gets the best stories. Plenty of conferences and events spark our curiosity and allow us to start conversations with some of the world's brightest minds. In person or virtually, Sean Martin and Marco Ciappelli go on location and sit down with them at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Together, we discover what the synergy of these three elements means for the future of humanity. High Trust continues to champion programs that safeguard sensitive information and manage information risk for global organizations across industries and throughout the third-party supply chain, collaborating with public and private sector experts in privacy, information security, and risk management to identify emerging threats and help organizations ensure they take the most effective steps to avoid them. Learn more at hightrustalliance.net.
Hey.
Hey, what's up? I'm in the dark.
You're in the dark, wearing a toque.
I'm in the dark. I'm on the other side of the moon, the dark side of the moon.
I'm toothless at the moment, but I'll be wearing mine as I make the drive up from New York City to beautiful Toronto.
Mm-hmm. What are you going to be doing there?
I'm going to enjoy the city and enjoy friendships and lots of good old conversation at the SecTor.
And you're going to enjoy being without me. That's something. For a break.
I appreciate it when you're around, but no. But anyway, we're covering SecTor 2024, which is set for October 22nd through the 24th. There's some summits and some briefings. It's an extension. Maybe probably not going to do this justice, but an extension or a pairing to Black Hat Conference in the U.S. and other places around the world. And but this is a special one, obviously, in Canada. And I'm thrilled to have Steve Wylie on. Steve.
Sean and Marco, always a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And I was wondering when I saw you, I was like, wait a minute. We're not talking about Black Hat, but in a way we are. So that's a great way to get things started, I think. Tell me about the connection maybe between SecTor and Black Hat. How did it happen?
Yeah, happy to. So SecTor is a Black Hat event. It's a business that we acquired back in 2019. It's one of the global events that we operate around the world, and it just happens to take place in Canada, and really serving the Canadian community of cybersecurity professionals from they're from the region or in and around Toronto, but it really is Canada's cybersecurity event. It's the event in Canada that's most widely regarded among cybersecurity professionals. It's very much their community event, and it's one that we were very proud to add to the lineup of Black Hat events that take place around the world.
So am I correct if I say that while Black Hat is much more of an international view on how things go around the world, SecTor it's more focused on Canada?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think the research comes from all over the world for SecTor, as it does for all the Black Hat events. So we might get research from from anywhere in Asia, sometimes from the U.S. So the research very global in nature, but the community that it's serving is very much Canadian, right? It is, and you get that sense when you go to the event. And Sean, I believe you'll be going up there for the first time this year, so you'll get a sense for that this year as well. It's a Canadian flavored event, so the audience is largely Canadian. The topics can also veer into the Canadian sometimes. Like we do get some federal government speakers, for example, sometimes really talking about the context of cybersecurity in the Canadian federal and provincial governments. So it's definitely a twist on the other Black Hat events, but I would say all of the other regional Black Hat events are similar in that nature, in that they are global in terms of research, but more localized in terms of the community and some of the topics that are covered there.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I am, but the full, the original name was Security Education Conference Toronto, hence
that is correct.
That is correct. I really like the word. I really like the word education.
It's most people assume it's Security Toronto, but it is
research.
Security Education Conference Toronto, and founded by two guys, very much part of the community. So Brian Bourne and Bruce Cowper. They started the conference, I guess, 18 years ago now. This is our 18th anniversary of the conference. So this was two guys that had been attending and actually were involved with Black Hat for years and thought to themselves that Canada needs a version of Black Hat. So it's in that sense, it was a sort of an easy acquisition for us to make because it was modeled very much like a Black Hat event. So there's a lot of commonalities between the two. And yes, to your point, education was at the core, right? So just like Black Hat, SecTor puts the conference and the program and educating the community at the foundational level of everything it does. So in that sense, there was a really good, not only just practical alignment there, but also cultural alignment as well with what Bruce and Brian had connected and created and what we stand for as well with the Black Hat events.
Come on,
everyone needs a
Black
Hat.
Right?
We're trying. We are trying.
Right.
You are
working your way toward that. So the first day, Tuesday, the 22nd of October, is a collection of summits, two of which I can get invited to. The other I'm banned from, just because of the label I wear as a journalist. But there's the AI Summit, Cloud Security Summit, and the Executive Summit, which that third one is a Chatham House rules, and people like me and Marco aren't allowed there because we might spill the beans on all the real stuff that's going on. But tell us a little bit about the three summits for folks who go to Black Hat in the U.S. and other places where the summits take place. Are they similar in style and structure?
Yeah, very similar in style, structure. So across all the Black Hat events, we're doing more specialized summits, and these are really they're conference programs embedded within the broader event that are targeted around specific technology sets, as an AI or cloud security, or it could also be aligned with a particular audience sect, like the Executive Summit or the CISO Summit that we do at the Black Hat USA event. So they're more targeted programs where you've got kind of like-minded people in the room for sort of shared learnings, right? So it's just it's a nice sort of change from the broader briefings program, our main conference, where you're in a room with folks with similar objectives and challenges, et cetera, and the conference program itself. The agenda is very much catered towards that particular target, topical area or audience or what have you, or industry in some cases as well.
So let's dig into that as well. So the second and third days, 23rd and 24th, are the briefings. Of course, there's the companion business hall where you get to hear about all the new technologies and offerings that organizations are bringing to market to help us solve our security program challenges. And of course, there's Arsenal in there as well. I love the Arsenal, as many folks know. Listen to this, but what are some of the highlights? Maybe touch on the keynote and maybe some of the themes and things.
Yeah. So actually, you mentioned Arsenal, so that's a really good point to make. So when we acquired the SecTor business back in 2019, it had a lot of the same elements, but it didn't have all the same elements. So Arsenal is something that we brought to SecTor last year, the Black Hat Arsenal program, which is a very much a mainstay at all the other Black Hat events. That was launched there for the first time last year, 2023. Very well received. So I think it went over well that Black Hat is investing in the SecTor event and making sure that it's got all the same sort of bells and whistles that the other Black Hat events have. So this will be our second time doing the Arsenal program up at SecTor. Very much the same sort of flavor and some of the same experts that drive that program. So we're excited to bring that back. We've also the addition of the AI Summit is new for this year's event. So this is a program we launched at Black Hat USA this year. You guys probably remember that from our interview then, and got really great feedback on that program. And we've now expanded that to all the other Black Hat events. So there'll be one taking place at SecTor. There's one taking place at Black Hat Europe in December. We'll have one planned for Black Hat Asia next year as well. So The topic of AI and cybersecurity is still a big theme and an issue for us to explore within the conference. So you'll see a lot of that in the agenda. But really, I would say at a high level, the event it's 3 days. The first day is heavy summits, right? We talked a little bit about that. Day 2 and day 3 are briefings, very similar to the other Black Hat events. We've got, I think, about 45 or 46 different briefings. And for those that are not familiar with that, these are research talks. They're generally, driven by people from the research community that have found interesting and issues related to cybersecurity, vulnerabilities, and sharing that insight and knowledge with the rest of the world. That is the sort of the foundation of Black Hat and of SecTor. So that's what you'll see a lot of. But there's, beyond the sort of the cyber research talks and the briefings, there's also a lot on just broader trends and issues that everyone needs to be aware of in managing their cybersecurity for their own organization. So that's the briefings program on this day 2 and day 3. We also, as you said, have the business hall. So that's about 140 or so sponsors of the event, exhibitors. They're the ones really, addressing more of the product side of cybersecurity solutions. And we have a number of talks in the business hall related to that as well, where you'll hear from different people from the vendor community on best practices related to their products, related to what they're seeing in the market. So that's also a quite large program at SecTor this year.
And I'm assuming because 2 months have been gone by since Black Hat that the AI is going to be completely different. Like everything has changed, right?
It's interesting. As I always do, I was spending some time reading through the agenda for this year's program at SecTor. And yes, there's a whole AI program that's new this year. But in addition to that, the briefings themselves have a lot of AI in there. So AI remains the single biggest sort of topic that's being discussed in and around our community, and therefore around these events. So it'll be a big, it'll be the bigger program happening on that Tuesday for sure will be the AI Summit.
Definitely not boring. Not boring. You can't get boring with AI. This is also the time where I'm going to ask you about pick your favorite child. Like, what are you looking forward in terms of speakers, keynotes, anything you want to highlight?
Well, I think let's start with the keynote speakers. We've announced one of our 2 keynote speakers. The other one we'll be announcing later this week, so stay tuned for that. But our first keynote speaker is Omkhar Arasaratnam, and he's a New York University Cyber Fellow, advisory council member, and guest lecturer with the university as well. So he's very prominent thought leader in the open source community around cybersecurity. So he's doing one of the keynote talks, and he is in particular focusing on security in open source. And he has a talk that really is sort of a review back on the XZ Utils backdoor. This was something that came out a few months back. You guys might remember really looking at vulnerabilities in Linux. And so he's going to be doing a bit of a diagnostic of what happened there and why we all need to be thinking a lot about our open source platforms that are in use today. It was apparently one of the biggest breaches that was avoided because of some of the research done around open source and Linux, and avoiding what could have been a really big problem. So it's a sort of technical review of what happened, but also a bigger sort of wake up call and call to awareness for all of the open source software that we're using in the enterprise today, and why we need to be especially mindful around that. So that's going to be one of the keynote talks, and I know Omkhar is going to be great. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And then I always like to get just a sense for, it's fine for me going through the briefings and seeing what piques my curiosity, but I'm also especially interested in what piques the review board's curiosity. So the SecTor program, just like the Black Hat program, comes together via the community, right? So the community submits research talks on what they think is interesting and what they're working on. And the review board for SecTor is the one that are the ones that actually select the topics each year that'll run at the event. So they've done a fantastic job, as they always do. These are folks that are, volunteers with SecTor. They spend a lot of their own personal time to review a lot of sessions, deeply technical sessions, and come to us with their recommendations on what would be some of the most interesting topics for us to cover this year. And so we've got some of those as well. So I think some of them, it's interesting. SecTor, because of the timing, it always happens just a little bit after Black Hat USA. So there's generally a couple of talks in the SecTor lineup that are from Black Hat USA, and the idea being that there's enough that the review board saw that they feel it needs to be repeated for the Toronto audience, for the SecTor audience. So we've got a couple of those sessions. There's one on breaching AWS accounts through shadow resources, another top Black Hat USA and top RB related one was isolation or hallucination, hacking AI infrastructure providers for fun and weights. So that was a talk that looked at AI as a service providers and how vulnerabilities there could lead to disclosing proprietary information in those third-party AI services that are available. So that, I think, is an interesting one that I'll definitely want to check out. We've also got a number of sessions that sort of piqued my interest as I went through the agenda that I can cover as well. So there's always a session that James Arlen, he's on our review board, he leads a session every year called Fail by the Dozen. So it's a collection of people from our board that really look at just sort of the state of the state in cybersecurity and in our community, what's working, what's not. So that's one that I'm happy to see coming back this year. We've got a session on third-party data breach. So it's called A New People-Centric Approach to Determining an Organization's Exposure to Third-Party Data Breaches. That's a big topic in our industry right now. So I think that one is likely to be a big draw as well. We've got our own Bruce Cowper. So Bruce, one of the founders of SecTor, is leading a session with the various folks from the review board on really looking at, as they put the program together, what stood out for them, what were some of the things that they see as broader trends that we need to be aware of. So that's a session I'm very much looking forward to as well. And then, as I mentioned earlier, that was a big takeaway for me as well. Looking through the agenda, it was just how much AI there is. There is quite a few sessions that are dealing with AI, both from a standpoint of protecting the AI, but also how AI is being leveraged by adversaries, how AI needs to be leveraged by people defending the enterprise, and everything in between. So I think as we've been seeing for quite a long time now, AI changes everything, turns on its end many thinkings around how we're securing our businesses today because of advents in AI technology that we're going to have to contend with. So I think it's just going to continue to be, a thing for us for a long time, that we're spending much of our agenda really digging into AI related issues. And there were some really good talks that jumped out at me as I was looking through the agenda. So one was hacking deepfake images, deepfake image detection system. So really this is, deepfakes is a big topic of concern around, disinformation, et cetera. And there are services available to help detect a deep fake or a synthesized image from an authentic image. These researchers have come to us with some concerns around how those deep fake image detectors can also be fooled. So the problem, persists there. There was a session on 15 ways to break your Copilot. So Copilot is the AI that runs within your enterprise from Microsoft. And these researchers have come to us with some concerns around AI vulnerabilities, even AI vulnerabilities within enterprise AI systems, which are intended to protect organizations from disclosing private information out onto the public AI. There's concerns there as well. So I think, again, lots of AI content for us to dig into this year.
Yeah, and we've overlapped on a few things. We've had a few chats already, chats on the road, as we call them, pre-event teasers, if you will, on some of these topics. And we had Cigar on for hacking deepfake image detection. An amazing session he's going to have for sure. And we had Ashley Jesh on as well, looking at artificially generated malware disinformation and scam campaigns. Both obviously AI enabled or AI oriented, and Ashley was amazing too. So looking forward to both of those. And you mentioned the people centric. We're actually chatting with Christine shortly, so that episode will be out soon. So it's nice to know. Of course, the agenda is amazing as always, but it's nice to know that we overlap on some of those things. And I don't know, maybe we'll get Mr. Kalper on to chat about his session afterwards. Yes. Maybe we can do that on location, because I think that one's probably be hard to not give away too many secrets beforehand. But maybe afterwards.
Yeah, and that's an important note there, Sean. That both Bruce Kalper, Brian Bourne, founders of SecTor, are still very much involved, right? So they're sharing the conference for us. They'll be the ones up on the stage introducing the event and the keynotes. So we're really happy that they've stayed involved with SecTor as the years have gone by. They're very integral to our review board and to what makes SecTor special in the community up in Canada. So we're happy to host them again as well.
Well, you know what, Sean? I'm curious. What are you looking forward to?
Well, first and foremost is to meet people in the region and get their perspective on the regional differences and challenges and how we can learn from each other and collaborate to drive things forward. And so sessions that I wasn't able to line up beforehand, hopefully I'll get to chat with some of the folks, some of the speakers and panelists on site. Yep. Of course, I always love hearing from the vendors. They have interesting opportunities to help us see the light, if you will, at the end of the tunnel. And looking to line up briefings, and we have the 7 minutes on ITSP magazine, which are a huge hit. So if anybody wants to chat with us on location there from the business hall or in the media room, that'd be great. But I think it's for me, it's all about connecting with the community and hearing the stories and sharing those stories with our audience.
Absolutely. That's what I'm very jealous about.
It's a strong community conference as well. Like, I mean, you definitely get that sense walking the halls there. It's it's a lot of people connecting with old friends and colleagues. So that's something always very enjoyable at conferences, is that LobbyCon activity, and SecTor's definitely got a lot of that.
LobbyCon, yes.
Because it's too cold outside, you got to stay hunkered down inside the building and with your friends.
Well, hopefully it's not too cold in a couple of weeks. I guess
you need that excuse. I know it's not an excuse, but you don't need that to take advantage of being around an amazing community and being able to spend time together. And that goes even in the heat of Las Vegas, which we just did.
It's part of our strategy. We host our conferences in either really hot places or really cold places.
Yes. Melt us and freeze us. There you go.
You got to stay inside. Well, it works. So, yeah, why not?
There we go. Well, it's October 22nd through the 24th. Hopefully not freezing yet. Cold enough to want to stay inside, but not freezing, so you have to. And, really looking forward to seeing the team. Shout out to Stephanie, who's always amazing in helping us cover all the Black Hat events, including this SecTor event coming up. And looking forward to meeting everybody, having some good conversations, sharing some stories. And 22nd through 24th, Metro Toronto Convention Center. See everybody at SecTor. Steve, thanks. It's always fantastic catching up with you, and thrilled to see all the success the Black Hat brand is having, bringing folks together, having these conversations.
Likewise. Thank you both for having me. Always a pleasure.
Always.
And Marco, I'll send you pictures.
Send me a postcard. Do they still have postcards? I'm sure they do.
I think I could find it.
Here's the challenge. Find a postcard and a nice stamp and send it to me.
All right, I'll do that.
All right, challenge.
You'll get it. You'll get it somewhere that you aren't, because it'll arrive later than you expect.
Especially if you send it in Italy, it's going to take a little longer.
That's right.
I'm sure.
That's right. You'll get it next time you go.
Yep. Thank you, Steve.
Well, do stay tuned to ITSP Magazine. We have a coverage page with all the conversations we've had. We put all the news up, so Steve teased another keynote coming out, so you can always catch that on the the Black Hat website, but we share that news on our page as well. And if you're in Toronto, please look me up, and we'll see you there. Thanks again, Steve. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
High Trust continues to champion programs that safeguard sensitive information and manage information risk for global organizations across industries and throughout the third-party supply chain, collaborating with public and private sector experts in privacy, information security, and risk management to identify emerging threats and help organizations ensure they take the most effective steps to avoid them. Learn more at hightrustalliance.net. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Sean and Marco's On Location event coverage conversations. Please take a moment to give the show a good rating and leave a comment. Remember to share this podcast with your friends, family, and colleagues. Come back for more conversations and follow Sean Martin and Marco Ciappelli as they continue their journey toward redefining cybersecurity and society.